Hi everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Laura, I'll be the interpreter today. Just wanted to explain this banner that Chieko wanted to bring. It was made by the women of Fukushima against nuclear power. The first line in blue says, life is precious or life is important. The second line says, total or absolutely against the restarting of any nuclear power plants. The third line says the name of the group, Women of Fukushima Against Nuclear Power.
I just want to start by asking her how she got started. Tell us a little bit about herself personally, how she got started, particularly in the movement.
私は3.11自給的な生活をしていました。
My life before 3/11 was filled with being near nature. It was very peaceful. To go deeply in depth with it would take a long time, so maybe we will later. But after 3/11, my life changed completely. I have 3 daughters, and one of them lives in Fukushima. And while the others had evacuated to a farther place, I couldn't leave my own children and my grandchildren in the same place. So I wanted to be around to support them and do what I can.
I think a lot of you in the news heard that last week in Japan there was an official report about Fukushima and the cause of the problem. Dr. Kiyoshi Kokosara, chairman of the parliament, issued investigation into the failure of the Fukushima Dai-Ichi atomic plant, made extensive criticisms. His claim is that the disaster was, quote, made in Japan or man-made. What is your opinion of Dr. Kurokawa's comments?
I did not see this statement by Kurokawa Kiyoshi, so I cannot speak to it directly, but I know what was said and I have my opinions about it. I think of radiation like an apartment without a toilet. Decontamination is something that happens and is accumulated, but it is not possible to get rid of. It doesn't go away. Once radiation enters your body, it stays there, and it's very difficult and nearly impossible to get it out. You cannot erase the damage. I knew this, and so did TEPCO, and yet TEPCO still did this. This is nuclear power. The Tohoku area where Fukushima is located was compromised for the people of Tokyo to have nuclear power in their homes. I believe that this is wrong, and they knew this danger as well, and still they built a nuclear power plant. People make mistakes. They aren't perfect, but they know that Japan is a country that has many earthquakes, and even still, they still built these nuclear power plants, and I believe that this is absolutely wrong.
I'm going to go back in a minute and ask what kind of projects that you are working on now. But before I do, I want to kind of follow up on this report. First of all, there are many people in the audience here that are communication studies students. And one important concept in communication is groupthink. That is a communication concept that Irving Janis refers to as faulty decision-making in a group. Groups experiencing groupthink do not consider all problem alternatives. The agreement and harmony they value over quality and long-lasting decisions. Is the Fukushima nuclear power plant an example of groupthink? And if so, why do you think that?
So as you all know from watching this film, that the government has not been telling us the truth about radiation levels. And from what I have learned and what I've heard from people in America heard this about radiation in Japan, and TEPCO reported it to the people of America and to companies in America, but not to the people of Fukushima and the people of Japan. And they used the reason that they used was because they said the people of Japan will not understand radiation levels. I believe that this is absolute nonsense. Children, and not just children, all people's bodies, like according to people who have talked to each other since last May, have been experiencing all kinds of higher levels of symptoms, such as nosebleeds that don't end, coughing that doesn't end, different kinds of eye problems. People go to doctors, especially mothers take their children, are concerned, and they may ask their doctors, like, hey, I think this is because of the radiation levels, but they are told, no, it can't be radiation, it's just because you're stressed. So she wants me to act this out with her. This is what happened to her. Do you want to be the client?
Sure.
I'm the doctor. So this is something that's happened to her male friend who's 50 years old. He said his cough doesn't end. So, oh, I hear your coughing's not ending. There's no way that it can be radiation. You're just stressed. So you're like trying to talk to the nurse, you know?
I'm not stressed. I just can't breathe.
And then, so what's going on is like, here's the doctor being like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And the nurse behind me is nurse. So she's like, you know, don't say it's radiation. You'll get in trouble. He's gonna get mad at you. Blah, 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 blah. So like, stay quiet. Don't say it's radiation. Like these kinds of situations are happening quite a bit, like within doctors' offices. It's really concerning because you should be able to talk about what you're going through. So people go to these doctors' offices and they are not permitted to tell the truth in this situation. They'll ask for examinations and they'll be refused and say that it's not necessary. This is happening very commonly in the Fukushima area. So according to a professor from Hirosaki College of the Aomori Prefecture in northern Japan, this is an article that she brought with her that I think we have, but he basically said, he asked patients to not talk about radiation because it creates stress for the larger community. So another example of this in a village called Iidate, she heard this at a protest for the restart of the Oi power plant. Recently, all the power plants in Japan were shut down, and there was one power plant that was like threatening to be opened again, and there was lots of protests recently to fight that. So she saw some policemen there because it's a protest, there's police. And Chieko saw that inside a police car, some had facial masks on over their mouths and others did not. And it turns out she asked why that was going on, and the people who were not from Fukushima, policemen not from Fukushima, were wearing the masks, and the policemen from Fukushima did not have a mask. And this was because they were ordered to show that Fukushima was safe by not wearing masks. So another example that's going on is that the city of Fukushima put on a health survey. It was too difficult to get everyone to participate, so only 25% of the population was able to participate. But of the 25%, 35% of the children who were surveyed had thyroid problems. And the goals of this health survey were, they said that it was to, or it's clear that it was to show or to prove, rather convince and make people think that Fukushima is safe and there's no radiation. Nothing about saving or protecting the lives and making sure people are healthy, but just so that the state can continue to prove that it's a safe place when it's not. So they have a number of strategies to get more participation into these health surveys to further prove to the people and to the larger world that Fukushima is supposedly safe. One of these is they have been calling specific nurses and asking them to tell the mothers that they see that, you know, the milk that they're using for their babies is safe, so don't worry about it, to like say these things to these mothers. So it should be a survey to figure out what the people of Fukushima should do next, what they should do to protect themselves and their children and their loved ones. But it's very clear that that's not the case. Also, what's going on in Fukushima right now is that the city and the state are funding large amounts of decontamination campaigns. So some other part of the strategies that they've been doing is promoting children's events outside within Fukushima, such as a kids parade or a kids marathon, ways to get kids to come outside. And it's a complicated situation because there's lots of young people trapped in their homes because other folks, like their parents or their relatives, might be worried that they might get affected by radiation. But So they really want to go outside and play because it's been a long time. And since the government is encouraging them to do so, it's especially attractive. So basically, Fukushima is not a place where people should be right now. It's been proven to be worse than Chernobyl, and they all know what happened there. And even still, unmasked children, unprotected children are encouraged to play outside to prove further that Fukushima is safe. So in a place called Yamashita, they don't say that there is a radiation problem, that anyone needs to be evacuated, or that anyone is contaminated. They freely sell vegetables from Fukushima in the store. Basically, it's another place where they're just saying that radiation is not a problem and they're continuing life as usual. So sometimes they will say, put up signs that say this fish is contaminated or you shouldn't eat this rice. But for the most part, many nearby villages are being told that, hey, it's okay to go home now, everything is fine. Lots of contradictory messages are being put out.
All right, I have a statement in my classroom, and the statement is the greatest threat to a democracy is a silent citizenship. Now what I'm hearing is that many of the people in Fukushima have been silent, and it's affected their well-being. One of the things there's two things I want to know. One is, what are some of the things that we can do here in the United States to either be supportive of people in Fukushima or to be supportive of this issue, period? And the other thing is, what are some of the things that that Chieko is going to be doing to continue to speak out and not be silent?
In terms of what people in America can do, know that there are nuclear power plants in the US, and please learn from Fukushima how dangerous radiation can be, radiation is, how dangerous nuclear power is. Do not forget about Fukushima, and think about if something like this would happen in the US, what we would do. And that it's not just a problem in Fukushima, it's a worldwide problem. This is a problem that it's not just about Japan, and it's not just about Fukushima. They are not the only people who made the mistake here. Someone is victimizing the greater people's lives. The 1% victimizes the 99%. You need to clearly look at the lies and the contradictions that are around you, and look at what is in front of you and look at what is at your feet. Confront those problems, those contradictions, and then stand up for your own people. So some of you may know about how recently there was an action in Tokyo where over 200,000 people gathered to stand against the restarting of nuclear power plants in Japan. At that action, I spoke with somebody who, surprised, said, Japan, like, this is not a democracy, what happened? And I thought that there was no democracy ever, and then we must create it now. And if we don't do anything, the idea of democracy is just a piece of paper. And then we have to create the world that we want by ourselves. The mass media, the government, the military, they will not tell the truth. They won't do for us what we want to happen for our lives. People across the world, we must create the connections ourselves and create for ourselves the kind of world that we want to live in and the kind of place that we want to be. So this is why I am living today, for my grandchildren and my children. Two of my grandchildren cannot evacuate from the contaminated area. One is a girl who's starting the 5th grade. This is the age when her reproductive system starts developing, and if she gets radiation, if her body is contaminated, then it's not just her that gets affected, it's her children's health, and their children's health, and their children's health. It doesn't end. So I am living here today for my own children, and for their children, and for the future that they bring. I want to be able to present to them a society that they want to live in, and that they can say that they're happy to live in. before March 11th, I had a lot of work that I wanted to do, but I couldn't, so I'm doing what I can by trying to provide for my own grandchildren. I want to show a powerful example of what a life living for myself and for the people that I love can be like.
Many of the problems and mistakes that leaders of the Tokyo Electric Power and others made might have been prevented. If you believe that, do you have any ideas as to how those mistakes might have been prevented?
She says, please ask TEPCO what mistakes they made.
私たちが望んでいなかった知らない間に
It's
こういうこと
clear
が
what
起こ
their
った
mistakes were. We didn't want any of this. So maybe we have some responsibility in that we didn't push hard before it happened, but if they tell us we didn't know, we couldn't prevent it, that's not a real reason. It's ridiculous.
Many of the problems that Mr. Kogashawa's commission identified are all too common around the world. The most dangerous lesson to draw from the Fukushima Dai-Ichi would be that such a thing could only happen in Japan. Other nations should not repeat the mistake, and that's a quote from Yuri Dickey from the Financial Times. Given that 61 atomic reactors are under construction, worldwide are located in developing nations, including China, a country that right now is undergoing a significant amount of public disclosure related to corruption. How likely do you think it is that this could happen again in the near term to some other place on the earth?
Like we saw in the film just now, that Japanese-American man, the engineer who was talking about how the power plant, the Fukushima Dai-Ichi power plant, was built incorrectly. Something was angled 180 degrees wrong. That's a clear example that this was not just a natural problem, but an issue of neglect by the company and the state. And so for that reason, this could happen anywhere. So like we were saying earlier, people make mistakes, and I believe that we must live in a way where we learn from these mistakes. The substances, uranium, plutonium, what nuclear power is made from, these are not compatible with human life. And it's for this basic reason that all nuclear power plants must be shut down.
I have just two last questions, and one of them is kind of a backing up question again. Just could you fill us in on any other projects, particularly maybe when you get back to Japan, or other projects that are really dear and important to you that you'd like to tell us about?
新病所建設運動を始めています。
So there's so many things that we are working on right now. Because by talking about how TEPCO and the government aren't taking care of the people and saying that they're bad, that alone doesn't do anything because they're still not going to do anything for us. So we are working to create our future for ourselves. One thing we're doing, that's a banner from one of the projects. We're working to start a clinic for children in Fukushima. So today, if you are able to, please give any donations that you can to support this project, because it's definitely not funded by the government. So we have received funds from all over the world who want to support this project, but anything will help today, so if you can, please do donate. So starting in the fall, we want to start this clinic, and many different doctors have come together to help make it happen. Some oncologists and even some doctors from Hiroshima who have their own experiences with radiation. So through projects like this and many others, like the tent city you saw about in the video, our society, we are going to create it by ourselves, the kind of society that we want. Another thing that we are doing is working with children, both to help them evacuate, meaning like move to a completely different place away from Fukushima. And if that's not possible for them for a number of reasons, we are, at least for the summer, having people volunteer to get them to get away for a little bit of time to a place where they can feel safe playing outside and doing what they want to do as kids. Another thing that we are working on is that we started a grocery store / mostly vegetable shop. What we do is that people are able to come here to get vegetables and produce that aren't contaminated. We deliver vegetables to people affected by radiation, and not only does this space actually provide physical food to people, it's doing a lot of mental health work as well, because it's one of the few places where people can go to freely talk about what's going on without being shut down by an authority to be quiet about what they feel like they're facing. People there are sharing cooking tips for what kind of foods reduce radiation levels in the body, or at least protect you more from it. They're sharing different kinds of health tips, what you can do to prevent yourself from being affected too much. So in these ways, they are teaching each other autonomously all these different things. And also, importantly, the women of Fukushima against nuclear power are continuing to organize and stay active. Some of you may know that in front of the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry in Tokyo, there has been a tent city that they've been keeping on for a really long time, and still people are there. It's not that big, there's 3 tents, but it's been a space for women to come together, to keep speaking up, to talk to each other, and also do some direct actions. Like, we participated in a hunger strike recently, and also a die-in. We are located in front of the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry to make sure that they do not forget about Fukushima every day. And this is kind of cute, I guess. They named the tent city since last winter the tent city to give birth to the future. So using this space, many women and mothers have been participating in many different kinds of direct action to protect our own lives. And we want to keep doing this style of direct action to feel that we are doing this for ourselves on our own. So every day, for many days now, I've been doing speeches across California, and I'm very moved by the support that I've seen here. And I'm excited to tell the people of Fukushima what kind of comments people are making and how much people in America are supportive. So thank you for having me here today.
We have some announcements.